baby.
I'm done.
That's my baby. We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored. They did it.
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
All right, fam, what's up? We're back.
No. I'm cutting you off right now, Steven. Right the fuck now. Right now. I don't. What is going on in the Phillies game? Is Nola still pitching? What happened? I know the Nationals just tied it. I saw 1-1 in the bottom half of the ninth inning.
Now has no decision, and it's 1-1.
Well, what? So they took Nola out. What happened?
Yeah, they took him out, put Brad Hand in.
Brad Hand gave us up. So it doesn't matter if it's Weeble, Knievel, Brad Hand, or whoever the fuck else isn't Sir Anthony Dominguez. It seems like whoever the hell's pitching in the seventh inning or later in our bullpen sucks so much ass. We're just so screwed. Now, that right now is important because if you're looking to buy or sell a home, or if you're looking for a change in career brokerage, you can contact our man Alan Foy at eXp Realty LLC 302-682-8820. Visit him at his website alan.foy@exprealty.com. But the poll question: the Phillies are becoming contenders in the National League. They're growing. They were growing. They are growing into contenders in the National League right in front of our eyes. Right, guys? Right? That's what we all thought. That's what we all think. Maybe we still think. Who knows? Let's see. Good question. But, I mean, what a start to June, right? I mean, 14-2 or whatever it is to start the month of June. Phenomenal. They come back. They sweep both ends of the doubleheader. Hard to do. I bet on it enough to know. When pretty much splitting doubleheaders happens about 80% of the time. Usually, if you have 10 doubleheaders, teams are going to split them 1-1 about 80% of the time. So to sweep a doubleheaders, that's legit stuff. No matter who you're playing, and we had a big comeback win last night. Made you believe. It felt like Bo Dallas, right, Daniel? I know you know what I'm talking about, Steven. I don't know if you do. But it made you believe just a little bit. And now here we are. We gave up a 1-0 lead. Why not leave Nola in for the ninth inning? How many pitches did he have?
I will check it out right now. He had Nola 106 pitches.
100 and what?
106.
100. Oh, fuck. Why are we going with Brad Hand? 106, bro. You're dealing. That's shutout. You could throw 120 pitches and go pitch a shutout. Why am I going to Brad Hand in a 1-0 game when you're dealing? See, this is the shit I'm talking about. This is the type of shit that cost you playoff spots. You missed the playoffs by a game. This is the type of shit I'm talking about. This got Joe Girardi written all over it. Was Joe Girardi in the building tonight? We had one the other night when we blew the shit out of a game a couple nights back. It's like the second game of the Marlins series or whatever it was. But like, is this? I mean, seriously, what is this? You're pulling your ace. You ride them. You ride them as far as they can take you, right? Nola and Wheeler. And you're fucking telling me in a 1-0 game where Nola's fucking dealing, we're going to Brad Hand in a 1-0 game? I don't care who we're playing, boys. Not good. 106 pitches? That's bullshit. Bullshit is what that is.
Some more bull hockey for this team, but that still doesn't answer your question.
So
gotta get the
just so everybody
I know
knows.
we're going to spit some venom on these Phillies in a few minutes, but let's go to the poll.
I was just saying, Steven.
Daniel, what are you feeling? Are the Phillies being legitimate contenders in the National League moving forward, regardless of this explosion here in the ninth again?
Can I say legitimate contenders in the NL East? Because that's
National League.
Legitimate playoff contender.
Hold on, Daniel. By this question, I don't mean just are they like legitimate like contenders to make the playoffs? Like, do you feel like if this is if you get everything together and you play in your best baseball down the stretch, you win the wild card, the National League East, some noise. Are you legitimate contenders?
At right now, I would have to disagree because of the bullpen. Because that's a big deal. Like, you literally just had your ace right now. Well, I don't know, it has been acting like the ace that we wanted him to the past 3 or 4 starts. He goes 8 innings, give up 4 hits and had 8 Ks. But then you go in a 1-0 game and your reliever blows the save for him. So now you're at extra innings. And I feel like you can't do that close to playoff time and in the playoffs. So I would have to disagree right now unless we could get somebody that can cover the 9th inning. And at this point, I'd be okay with having Sir Anthony Dominguez do it. I know people don't want him to do it. They're fine in the 8th, but I want him to be the closer right now with how good he's been this year.
Well, I mean, like I said, I feel they're on the fringe of that until they can address the reliever situation. I've been adamant on since the beginning of the season that I felt like that they're a back end arm away from being a contender to make that push to get this team to fill this city's expectations of where they feel they're at, especially with what they paid with that offense. So legitimate, not yet. I love what I'm seeing from these teams. Absolutely, you can't deny it. But you cannot. You cannot discredit with the glaring hole we see. See what happens when they get to the bullpen, man. I love what I'm seeing out of this team. Don't get me wrong. Me and you've been gushing over it. I know you're more than happy with the way Aaron Nola's been pitching this year, considering how hard we both have been on him. Coming into the season. So
this was the same weakness.
That's another reason why Zach is sitting there, hammering this team right now about pulling Nola in that situation because he's your freaking ace, man. And if he's right around that, dude, give him the top of the inning to see if he can continue that. Have your guy ready. If he doesn't have it, pull him in. Don't take it away from him before he even has a chance to. That's your ace.
Part of being legitimate contenders.
Can we go back and imagine someone like that happened with Holiday or something like that?
Well, that's a different breed. But you're talking about Hall of Famers compared to guys that are just your number one. But still, you got to ride your horses, right? You got your horses, and the reason you have your horses, you don't just sit there and look at them, right? The reason you got your horses in the stable wasn't to just look at them because they're pretty. You want to ride them. You got to ride them horses as far as they'll take you. And you got 2 horses in your stable in Nola and Wheeler. So it's ridiculous to me. It'd be one thing if your bullpen was legit. If you felt like, hey, we got one of the better bullpens in baseball. Let's ride it. We're going to go with with what wins us games. What wins your games right now is not having your bullpen go as many innings as possible. So you got to ride your horses. As far as they'll take you. And right now, Nola's one of those horses, especially over the past 4 or 5 starts, as you guys been talking about. It's ridiculous that that you take him out of this game for me. I mean, I just don't understand that. That you're asking to lose a game in that situation. But I think if we're asking the legitimate can become a legitimate contender, I think part of that conversation would be understood that if we continue to play at this level, you get to the deadline and you're trying to add some type of really, really good bullpen on, right? I think we all understand that you're not going to be a legit contender without doing
like they run June. That's the question, and I don't think they can. I think they can be around there, but we're about to hit.
What do you think the question is, Steven?
So, what's that?
What do you think the question is?
If they can sustain it through this month and this road trip is probably the real question.
I think you need to sustain it at least through the All-Star break. If you can sustain it through the All-Star break, you put yourself in a position where you go, okay, yeah, we need to be able to be buyers at the deadline and find a way to really improve our team to a point where, we're trying to make a run this year because the offense is good enough. We know that. We know when the offense is clicking. I memean, that is what it is. You're not going to really do anything to make it any better than it is outside of maybe, letting Stubbs play more, a little bit more each week, catching that, there's no reason for Real Muto to get run out there every single day just because he's JT Real Muto. If Garrett Stubbs is playing that well, maybe he plays a little bit more. But I don't think there's anything you do offensively at the deadline as much as you're finding a way to try to get better, from a bullpen perspective. And I think you have enough. We talked about it last week, right? We talked about some of the names in our system. Andrew Painter's pitching really well. You're not getting rid of him, right? We know Bryson Stott's the future up the middle somewhere, whether it's shortstop, second base, whatever it might be. I think we're all kind of willing to listen to the idea of Mick Abel being a name that's shipped around if it means it brings us back enough of a return. But, outside of the two names we mentioned, Andrew Painter and Bryson Stott, I think we're all like, hey, whoever you got to get, even Logan O'Hoppe. I think Logan O'Hoppe's a guy who, because you look at Rio Muto's situation, it's hard to find legit backstops, right? Legit catchers, guys who come through your system and can be two-way players at the position and are that good to be two-way players at the position. So maybe even him, but still, I don't know if you look at him and go, hey, that's a surefire guy. I think the only two guys I'd say I'm not listening to anybody, talking about them involved in trades for me are Andrew Painter and Bryson Stott. Other than that, I'm willing to listen to anybody in the system, minor leagues, major leagues, whatever it might be. And if that means I can get a legit closer at the deadline, if that means I can get some sort of back end of the bullpen arm that solidifies things, that's what you got to do. Because that's really, as you guys mentioned, the only thing that's holding you back from becoming I guess what we could call a legitimate contender right now. Obviously, we look like, we're in a good spot to win the wild card. You play up to your potential. We could still win the wild card, sure, but you're not going to go win anything in the playoffs with this type of bullpen. I think we all agree on that, right? You got to find a way to get better in the bullpen somewhere, 7th, 8th, 9th inning.
It is nice that we have Rhys Hoskins and Schwarber warming up. Schwarber started out pretty nicely. Of course, he's hitting 210, but we expect him to hit 210. Well, at least
he's got 18 homers. I mean, what? Hit 210. Hit 210 if you're going to give me 18 homers by the middle of June. That's fine.
Yeah, but Rhys is warming up. Of course, Bryce Harper is Bryce Harper. And you even have Stotts, who was warming up right around the time of the.
Ricky Castellanos gets hot, right?
Yeah.
If Castellanos gets hot, it loses the ghost of Ben Simmons. Tommy keeps talking about it. Should have never bought Ben Simmons' house. That's what happens.
Burn that house
That's
down
what happens.
That
Don't put yourself in the presence of losers. You can't. That's a spiritual thing that just sticks around. It sometimes has bad juju. But
someone needs to make sure no one's home for this road trip. Burn that house down. Rid him of that bad juju. Do something, man.
Sell it.
Call the witch.
Sell that house.
Have someone cleanse the house. Someone figure something out to get him out of this.
Steven, you watching the UFC fight? Because these two dudes are going at it. One of the dudes is bleeding, the other dude got hit in the nuts.
You see our Philly boy do his thing. Jeremiah Wells with that big knockout, man. Gotta love it.
When he connects, you're done. It doesn't matter who you are.
The Philly boys down from Henzo Gracie Philly are not playing.
So real quick, guys, real quick. Yesterday it was reported that Kenny Atkinson, the Warriors assistant, former Nets coach, was going to take the Hornets job. Now being reported that he's turning down the Hornets job to stay with Golden State and remain one of their assistants. If you're him, I kind of actually like the move. Why go take a job like with anybody outside of a team that you've got all the power now, right? The Warriors are the champs. You're the top assistant for a team that's world champs. You don't go take a job unless it's the job you want. Otherwise, stick around with a team that's probably going to re-sign Andrew Wiggins and find a way to try to maintain most of the core they currently have. Are the Warriors done winning? I know that's something we're going to talk about a little bit later on, but how about that? Them beating the Celtics, I know we're all happy there. But for me, this is going to be a fun conversation when we get into it a little bit later, as far as, the dynamic of all this as it currently is, and then the idea that you look at this Warriors core and the fact that they might not be done. They could still win a few more championships, dude.
Patting it up, we're trying to get some hockey talk going.
That too. See, David, another one, right? And the Flyers, we never talk Flyers on this show. Listen, I'm going to be in the minority. I love the John Tortorella hire. We can talk Flyers later on if you guys want. I know a lot of guys, I can't stand the fact. You know what? John Tortorella for me is like the Larry Bower of hockey. At least he's going to demand everything that you could possibly demand out of a player. And if some of them don't like it, oh well. It is what it is. But maybe that's what you need in this Flyers organization right now.
That's always
I
been
can't
the
wait
thing
to
with
see him fight with Howard Eskin. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see him fight with Angelo Cataldi. I hope that that clown Jason Martinez comes back. I thought he was still covering the Flyers. I was telling Steven this yesterday. Missinelli just quit from 97.5, right? That idiot. And his right hand guy was Jason Martinez for a long time, who was covering the Flyers. I was hoping to see like John Tortorella just beat the shit out of Jason Martinez, but apparently that's not going to happen anymore. No.
Yeah, this is a good move. I think the only thing that's been bad with him is he gets to the point where players start to tune out, and then the management has to make a move if they're not listening to him and the team's not playing well. That's always been his MO, but like from the start, it should be well. Like he should have a positive
I thought it was
reaction.
I thought it was
to the
funny.
team.
Excuse me, as I have allergies here.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Game 2's about to get started in a minute here.
Bless me. Somebody bless me. God damn it. Somebody bless me.
Bless you, Mr. Zachary. Bless you.
Okay, thank you.
You got to get another one on there.
No, I thought it funny. I found it funny. Somebody was like, we listened to that idiot Matthew Bartleby talk, and he said he had talked. I talked to somebody from his Stanley Cup winning team. Okay, listen, right there. Let's end the right there. I don't give a fuck how much of an asshole you think your coach was. If you won a Stanley Cup or win a championship with somebody, they can be as much of an asshole as they want, and we've kind of seen that throughout. I mean. We learned that in Philly. We learned that with the 1980 Phillies, right? Dallas Green. I mean, there was plenty of tension between the players in Dallas Green. It wasn't like everybody loved Dallas Green on that Phillies team in 1980. It definitely wasn't the case at all. But everybody got over it and got over their feelings because you're grown men. And once you win and you're lifting a championship trophy, it's hugs and champagne and hey, whatever. I don't give a fuck. We can hate each other as much as we want as long as we're going to win. And you see that throughout sports play. I mean, you got guys like Bill Parcells and Bobby Knight and Bill Belichick and how many guys that necessarily aren't the easiest coaches to play for. But at the end of the day, you deal with it because you've got track records of success that lead to you being able to coach in that sort of way. I don't really give a damn, what players' feelings are. If you're a player that won a championship with the coach and you're bitching about something that he did, then you're soft, and that's fine. I don't really give a fuck about your opinion. If you're an asshole as a coach and we lose, okay, well then fuck you. You can't lose and be that way. But if you have a track record of winning and you're that type of guy, hey, that's the way that goes, right? And go ahead as long as you're going to win. So right now, I think what the Flyers need is somebody that is going to come in and demand the best out of everybody. Demand, hey, this is a loser mentality. Fuck this loser mentality. We need to be winners. We're going to carry ourselves like winners. We're going to practice like winners. We're going to play like winners, and have that type of mentality that tries to get restored to a locker room that it seems like over the past 5 years or so, you're just kind of like, where is this organization going? Do the Flyers even know where they've gone? The fans definitely don't. Does the organization really know where they're going? And they maybe need to find that winning attitude again. And this is a guy that brings that mindset. So, I'm all for it. If I was a Flyers fan, I mean, we all know I'm not like, I'm not one of these guys. I'm not being a homer. I'm not speaking as a guy that is just being a Flyers homer. I'm saying if I'm looking at it just with my eyes for what I think this organization needs, it seems like a positive step.
And game 2's underway, guys.
I need the Lightning to score more than 2.5 goals.
Don's in the house as well, my friends. Don's in the house as well. What's up, brother?
So what do you guys think of the craziness with the Braves? They go and win 14 straight games.
Lost 2 straight out of the Cubs.
To the Cubs, a team that was on a 10-plus game losing streak, which I think is
lost 10 straight.
Yeah. So you have the team with the losing streak beat the team on the winning streak 2 times, which helps us if we can at least win this game because it'll keep us within a game and a half of the Braves. And then, of course, the Mets have been on like a free fall.
The Mets are falling apart, right? That's what's crazy about it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the wild card, but you said a game and a half out from we're
didn't take long first penalty.
We're 2 weeks out from the All-Star break. A few weeks out from the All-Star break, and we're talking about the division being right there.
Reese Hoskins with the RBI.
A minute in, we get a rough penalty. Already a power play.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get an
That's the way it needs
RBI
to go.
single. RBI single for Reese
Tampa
Hoskins.
needs to win this game. You would think, right, for them to have a chance to go win this series in three-peat, right? If they go down 0-2, it's going to be tough to come back against Colorado.
What I will say is that they're very tough.
Already in the power play.
Yeah, they're tough at home. So, like I said, my
But
buddies.
Tampa is, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's why you need to go win. That's why you need to go win one of these. You know, they already lost game one, and they had a chance in overtime to go win that game. That's why you need to go win this one. You know, you go back home 0-2. Now the best you're doing is you're hoping to tie it 2-2 and go from there. I think winning this game is crucial for both teams.
Yeah, like I think it's more crucial for Colorado knowing how well Tampa is at home, and then Colorado has been iffy on the road in the playoffs, whereas on the road in the playoffs, usually Tampa is better, but of course, so they can go home and at worst, at best, be 2-2. Well, getting this win would solidify that. Even if they don't win in Tampa, it would be at worst 2-2 for them, and then they can go back to Colorado to pick up a win.
The big thing for Tampa here, guys, is that Braden Point's back. Braden Point missed the past 2 series with injury, and he's back now for the Stanley Cup. So that was a big miss for them.
Yeah, it's just getting him acclimated and getting him making plays because he's been one of their best players the past couple of years in the playoffs. Of course, Kucherov has been the best on the team.
He was the MVP of the Stanley Cup Finals last year.
Yes, I believe so. And then right now he's tops amongst active players right now who are still left in points. I think he has like 24, 25 points right now. A lot of it was in okay. So now now the Nationals are up. Who's scoring?
I didn't take long.
That's fine. That actually might help me if I need the Lightning early, right? That means the Lightning get aggressive here.
Nishkin again. He's been hot. He had a goal in the first game.
Right in front, yeah. Pass in front. That's bad defense. Yeah. With 7 seconds left. I mean, you're 7 seconds away from killing a penalty. I mean, good Lord.
It's rough.
That's fine. That's why I don't take them on the money line. If anything, I was thinking about taking the Avs on the money line. That way I could throw a little bit of money on the Lightning money line to try to like hedge and protect yourself. But, you know. My parlay officially is the Dodgers on the money line, and then I've got the Lightning to score. I've got the Dodgers on the money line and the Lightning to score at least 3 goals. So both of those things should happen.
What do you think about Prism's question here, Zach?
I can't read it. You know my eyes suck. Should the Flyers try to trade
for DeBrincat?
Somebody read it.
It said, should the Flyers try to trade for my Blackhawks DeBrincat? Unfortunately, we listen to offers on him. I don't want to because we have more pressing needs right now. More so on the blue line, we need, as of right now, I feel like we should be selling guys, not bringing guys in. We're selling guys. We got some guys in the farm that we just brought up. We got, of course, the 5th overall pick. We need to figure out what the identity is going to be before we start bringing guys in. It's like we just brought a new coach in. He might want to mess things up and like bring in guys that he wants, and then keep certain guys on the team. Like we're not in the movement right now to add guys to what we have. I feel like with how bad we did.
Phillies are now back up 2-1 though.
Yeah, with Reese Hoskins.
You only get one run out of that. That's rough.
Well, it's better to get one than 0. So I'm not going to complain too much.
You know, they already got one out second with no outs. So
Tortorella though has a history here, right? Like, you don't usually rebuild when a guy like him is high. Like, he's a guy that tries to like get the most out of what you've got now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do anything that they possibly feel like they could to improve the team in a way that helps them, be more competitive now, whether it's through the trade, free agency, or whatever.
I would say
I've said it for years, and I said it even when Giroux was here. You need a legitimate playmaker. Giroux wasn't good enough. You need a guy that's legitimately an elite playmaker, goal scorer type.
I was going to say we need a goal scorer. We have playmakers. It's just that we don't have guys to give it to that will score 30, 40, 50 goals. Like I know Couturier will score 30 goals, but it's not like he's going to score. Like he'll be like 30 and then maybe 40 assists. We need a guy that we know can get 40 and like 60 or something like that. A guy that we know will be, when we need him to score, he will score. Like we had a chance to do that with Caulfield when we took Cam York in the draft. Yeah, he's a guy on the Canadians that can score goals, and he showcased it the year before. But at the time, we needed defense because our defense just plain out sucked, and too much was being shot at on, of course, the goalie. And that's always been the problem. Our defense just gives up easy goals and leaves him right out to dry.
Lightning's 5 minutes in, and they don't even have a shot on net yet. So
yeah, and you want to be able to protect your coveted goalie, who at this time is still 22, 23. He's still young. He's still developing. But you want to be able to get these good years out to good use, not waste them. And then by the time he starts playing well, because you start surrounding him with the team in front of him, then you're paying him $20 million a year almost because of his potential. So it's like we got to bring a guy in that can like mix with these playmakers so we can start getting ahead in games instead of always being down 1-2-1 every game. And when guys get hurt, you don't have to worry about it because you have enough on the team to kind of deal with it in the short term. That's always been the problem with the Flyers. And then the Flyers never truly rebuild. They always retool and let guys go, but then bring guys in. They never truly try and rebuild their team. So it's always that mediocrity. It reminds me of the Sixers until recently when the Sixers went on the full rebuild. Like there's talent there that we can keep on the team, like 3-4 guys that I trust, but everybody else I feel like is kind of you can get rid of.
And Bryce makes a point like these next two drafts are important because you go from a retool to a rebuild real quick if you don't nail these next two drafts. All right, there's Zach.
Yeah, I'm watching the Lightning game. I don't know. You guys were talking. You guys had it. You guys are the Flyers fans, so I had y'all. Like, y'all were going, and I was letting you guys carry it. Okay.
How you feel about your Lightning now, man? Not looking good.
I mean, it's whatever. Again, like I said, I don't have them on the money line, but they need to get some more time in the offensive zone. That's for sure. Colorado is dominating the possession of everything right now. But Colorado starts quick. That's their thing. That's their MO.
Yeah,
they started quick in game one. They went up 2-0 in game one.
21 goals in the first period, most in the NFL or NHL for playoffs.
They went up 2-0 in game one, and the game went to overtime. So
that's the saying, right? It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
And he's right. These next two drafts are important for the Flyers. They need to start bringing in talent that they know that can play. And now that you have a coach, you can, and like I said before, you can get an idea of the style of play he wants them to do and bring those guys in because they've hit on talent. It's just that they don't know how to use them, or the coach that at the time didn't know how to use them the right way that they should. And I feel like he'll be able to do it because he'll be able to give them constructive criticism where I feel like the last two have not been able to do that.
yeah, I think you could compare.
Oh man, here we go. You're our favorite troll's back.
Yeah, he's a bot or something. I don't know what the hell. Nobody even brought up the Eagles right now. I don't know. I did hear Sirianni say something about how you could see the difference in Jalen from last year to this year and the zip on the ball and yada yada. Like, that's all coach speak, and you can't fool me. I'm not an idiot. You don't like go from having a guy that's like a noodle arm to a guy that all of a sudden, is Brett Favre. Like, that just doesn't happen.
I don't think he's
So,
Brett
I mean,
Favre, but I think he just
Well,
said that he was
what I mean by that
improving.
is Brett Favre had a really strong arm, right? So, like, you don't go from a guy that has like a noodle arm to a guy all of a sudden with a really strong arm. Like, oh, well, there's more zip on it. No, there's not. Like, his timing might be better. You could say he's anticipating better and his timing better. He might read it, but like this idea that all of a sudden he's got a stronger arm and yada yada. You're just trying to sit here and pull the wool over everybody's eyes and make people believe something that really isn't. What it is. Like I said, I'm not an idiot. Don't patronize me. That's fine. I watch enough football in my life to know what the deal is.
I don't think it's far-fetched to think that it
if
got
you're the
better.
organization, you want to do everything you can to make the fan base believe that that Jalen's going to be the guy this year. I get it. There's no excuses. You got a great roster, and he needs to be able to step up and be the guy. So you're going to sit here and try to hype that up as much as you can. Everybody's rooting for the kid. Let's be honest. We all know how hard he works. It's not like we're not rooting for the kid, but I hate this idea when because people have been trying to do this since he was drafted. I cannot stand the people in this fan base that try to, want to sit here and insult my intelligence and try to, you're just being a hater. No, his arm talent is not what it needs to be to win in this league. It never has been, and until he proves otherwise, it's not. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. It's the third year now, the third year in a row that I've heard, how I'm wrong about what his arm talent is. Meanwhile, I've been right since he was in college about what his arm talent is. And that's going, 5 going on 6 years now when he played in college. So, like at this point, it's just one of those things where
and another one for Colorado.
That's fine. That's why I don't have him on the money line. I told you that. Colorado starts quick. But yeah, I mean, there's never been a year. Can you remember a year like if Donovan McNabb had this type of like talent around him, like we would have been fucking like jizzing out of our nipples, not even out of our fucking dick. Like we would have been jizzing out of our nipples. We would have been like, wait, that's not even a thing. We wouldn't even know. We would have been creating a new type of fucking sexual, like release. Michael Vick, same thing. At any point in the last 5 or 6 years, like there hasn't been. I don't know. Like, can you think of a more all-around talented offense? And you talk about receivers, running backs, offensive line. Like you just put the total package together. Like, when was the last time we said the weakness of this team was the quarterback? It's always been the quarterback will take us where this team can go, and the talent around them from a receiver, running back, all that. The skill positions has always been where we questioned everything. Now it's the complete opposite. We've got great skill position players. You're just worried about whether or not the quarterback's good enough.
And that's why they made the moves in the offseason with the trade before the draft to get the extra first-round pick for next year, just in case he doesn't pan out. They put in the work to, in case if he does, then you can use his picks on whatever you need to use on what your weaknesses are going into next season. But if for some reason he doesn't pan out, he struggles, say we don't make the playoffs, but then we get a good pick out of that with the Saints, with how they play, we can package that with our own move up and get a quarterback. That's why they did it, because they're still not sold on him, but they want to use him this year and let him prove himself right or prove himself wrong. And
Anthony's first win since September 30th of 2000.
But I will say, like, you can, like, I'm not saying he's dramatically improved it, but I think he can improve it a little bit.
Another penalty on Tampa.
But I think he can improve the arm strength a
too
little
aggressive
bit.
right now, bro.
And I like how he put on weight, and he's bigger, which is good because it's going to help him out in the long run with that. But like, he has no excuses to be bad this year with the talent that he has. So
the puck was just deflected in traffic. That was really weird, but
yeah.
We got a Phillies win. They win 2-1.
Yep. Sir Anthony's first win since September 30th of 2018.
There you go. The guy that you should have had in the ninth. He came in and pitched 1 inning and gave up no hits.
Yeah, I think what it seems like, because they took Weeble Knievel out of the closer role. That's his name from now on, Weeble Knievel. It's like Evel Knievel's retarded cousin or something. I don't know. I don't know what you want him to do. What do you want me to say? It's a evil kid, like it's like an Evel Knievel like crashed and burned every single time he did like a stunt. He would be Weeble Knievel. So yeah, there you go. But that's Corey Knievel's nickname, Weeble Knievel. And you took Weeble Knievel out of the role and put him in whatever role he is in now. And they said, whatever, a closer by committee. I think that meant that you'd have probably, hands in a spot where, if you've got lefties coming up, maybe you'd want to throw him in certain situations depending on who's coming up. But I think that Sir Anthony Dominguez has to be in the conversation, right? You've got to have situations where you want him to be the guy that's throwing in the ninth inning when you've got a lead. I think you're crazy. He can't close. Why can't he close? I've never understood this idea with he doesn't have the mentality or stuff. I don't understand any of it. I just really don't. It's so silly to me. He gets guys out when you need him to get guys out. Well, I need him to get guys.
I can see why. I can see why early on you would have him like just go right into the setup role or whatever just to warm him up, because it's been 2 years since he's pitched. But by now he's all warmed up. He's pitching well. Now is the time to move him into the closer's role, because you slowly allowed him to get acclimated.
You don't have anybody better. So,
No.
Hell, he's got the best stuff in your bullpen. I've always said whoever's got the best stuff in your bullpen, that should be the guy that's trying to get guys out in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
It's clear that he's got the best stuff. Like I said, for me, I guess it's one thing if there's somebody that you've got established in that role who that's who the guy that's closed and gotten guys out for years in this position. But you don't have that guy. You're trying to find that guy. There's absolutely no reason for him not to be, thrust into that role for the next month or so and see what the hell it can be. I know people are like, oh, well, we did that a couple years back. Yeah, a couple years back, he was a lot younger and more experienced pitcher than he is now, right? So, again, like this is you're in a position where you're in the middle of a playoff race, and we're over here trying to find who the guy is that's gonna close games at the end when we've got a lead and put teams away for us. No playoff team in the history of playoff teams, has been trying to find that ninth inning guy, as they get late in the year. Like you either have that guy or you don't, and you better find him pretty damn quick if you want to be anybody. And we talk about wanting to be legitimate contenders. That's not happening unless you find that guy awfully quick here.
I always wondered why we didn't start out with Hand and then have Knievel play his way into it, because I was always a fan of Hand over Knievel, because at least Hand was a all-star closer before, and he did it for a couple years on some winning teams. So I was like, if you're going to start out with a guy at the beginning of the year, he would be the guy to do it. And granted, he gave up a run tonight, but this was his first time back into that role, because it's always different during the 6th, 7th, 8th inning compared to the 9th. But like at this point, like you kind of lost the chance to do that, and now it's like go with Sir Anthony Dominguez while it's hot. Like he's pitching great. You don't want to make these mistakes in the 9th. If you got guys making mistakes in the 7th and 8th inning, that's one thing. But you want to be able to not have that problem in the 9th inning when it's 1-0 or 2-0, and you don't want the guy blowing it, and he's the best chance there. At least moving forward, at least if you know that Dominguez is styled in the 9th, he's not going to make mistakes, then you go in and you make the trades at the trade deadline to go for a setup man or a 7th inning guy, not look for a closer because you already have one.
Yeah. At this point, I don't even know if you like at the deadline, you're just looking for guys that can improve your bullpen to the point where, okay, we've got guys now that can get guys out late in the games. Like, Dominguez is pitching at a high level, right? If you just bring in a couple guys who you say, okay, this guy can, he's been pitching well late in games. This guy's been pitching well late in games. Then you're in a position where you can say, okay, we've got a couple different guys to choose from. We find somebody in that group. If there's an elite closer on the market, come the deadline, okay, then make the move for the elite closer too. I mean, I'm all with that, but I mean, yeah, I think your focus is, which is unlike a lot of other, recent past years. You have one spot, like really one position where we're really focused on. This is the move we need to make, and that's your bullpen. You need to find a way to get better late in games with your bullpen, as opposed to maybe having 3 or 4 different positions we could get better in. I think I would like to add another arm to make our rotation better, but I think your rotation's good enough. If Nola and Wheeler pitch the way they can, Nola especially pitch the way Nola is right now, if you can just focus on bringing in an elite back end of the bullpen guy, that's maybe your difference maker down the stretch. It really could just be that simple.
All I know is at this point in time, how could these guys not see that you need him in the back end right now? Like, why is Sir Anthony not your de facto closer at this point in time?
Well, we're not in the building every day either to know that. I mean,
I know, but this is something we've been talking about since the beginning of the season. We didn't know why he wasn't the closer. And it's like, I know we're the idiots from the outside looking in, but at the same time, like, we all could see the same thing everyone else is seeing, right? Or did I miss something?
I mean, yeah, no. I mean, obviously we're on the same page there, but yeah, I mean, again, we're not in the building every day, so you don't know. I mean,
Bryce, I'll take the arm over the center fielder at this point in time.
Yeah, if Fielding could play center field, we might have found something there too. He's not bad. I think we could survive with him there, and I like the fact that he could play multiple positions too. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd like to get a center fielder as well, sure. But yeah, I think the back end of the bullpen is the most important thing. You've got to, your lineup is good enough where you say, okay, there's going to be a weak spot in your lineup. Our lineup's good enough where it's at. Well, okay, I'll take center field being the weak spot in that lineup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to have more options when it comes to getting guys out late in games. I just have to.
That's the whole thing about having situational guys that that are there for certain situations. But then now you can't just use a guy for one batter. Now you got to use them for the whole inning at least, unless he doesn't pan out. So that's the name of the beast here with the game this year, with having to get guys for certain innings, and right now they're not getting the combinations right. You need a guy for 9th, not the guy for the 10th. You don't want to go into the 10th, but this is the Phillies here. They do great. They make a dumb mistake like this, and then they come back and win in the 10th. They do something that we don't want them to do. It's like a heart attack waiting to happen.
Well, they always give us heart attacks of the Phillies. It's
I mean,
hand in hand.
Hell, even our guys that were supposed to be our all-time greats when it comes to what's the call here? What happened?
No, it's we got the
NHL play. I'm looking to see what happened in the Stanley Cup game. But even our all-time great closers and stuff. When you talk about the Phillies, I mean, you got Mitch Williams, obviously. It's like even he was a guy that made you go, oh my God, I'm getting heart attack every single time he comes into the game, right? So we can't, it's even Brad Lidge's perfect season where he didn't blow a save. There were situations where you're like, good Lord.
Yeah.
This is making my asshole pucker tighter than I want it to.
but at least we had like a great 7th inning and setup man there right in front of him, so like it made things easier for him. We don't even have that right now.
No,
but at least we're winning.
3-0 Avalanche. Good Lord.
There's another one. 3-0. Tampa Bay fans are about that quiet too.
They're a little bit shell-shocked. Yeah, I mean, you need to go get a goal here before the first period ends at least, right? Like we keep talking about, like you can't live, you can't let them live in your zone. Like you've got to, at some point, you've got to start making, making some noise in the other team's zone. And then that's just easy peasy stuff right there. It's a rebound right in front. It's just bad.
That's what it's bad. 3-0. Avalanche is getting in the Lightning.
What do you think of this? What do you trade, Reese or JT, or keep both? I would keep Reese right now and then trade JT.
I mean, I don't know what JT's going to get you at this point. So, I mean, that's
at this point I could care less because he's not helping the team out right now.
I mean, you still have to care. You can't just like.
Yeah, but you can't hold a guy who's not helping the team. Just be like, oh, maybe and then wait.
Trading him doesn't help the team either, unless you're actually getting something that matters. So, I mean, like at this point, that is what it is. I'm exploring all my options this offseason. But yeah, I mean, if I can get like an elite bullpen guy, I guess I explore trading him, sure. But I don't know what he gets me right now, and I don't really think that's something that probably does me any good. I think if anything, that's just a reason for me to not include Logan O'Hoppe in any type of deal that we're talking about, because I realize I need a catcher here in a year or two. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm willing to, include. I told you the only two people that aren't, open in trades, theoretically are Painter and Bryson Stott, and then you've obviously got guys that are obvious, that we know all, When you talk about the big league level, we all know who the obvious. Oh yeah, of course you're not trading Aaron Nola. Of course you're not trading Bryce Harper. But yeah,
Reese.
I mean, even when the right offer comes along for Reese, I'm thinking about it, sure. But I don't want to trade Reese. No.
Well, isn't Bryson Stott already on the Phillies right now? He's already on the big league team.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about guys though that you're talking about your young players that have less than a couple years of big league experience that you're expecting to be able to be cheap and be sustainable and be building blocks here in the next few years where you don't have to worry about spending a ton of money, I guess would be a good way to put it. Which we have very few of. Even the two that we're talking about, even if Painter and Stott end up being great players, you still have very what else are we talking about? We better hope that there's other guys in our system that pan out.
Yeah. Because those are the three guys that I want to be: Stott, Painter, and O'Hoppe. Because O'Hoppe's just killing it right now with 15 home runs on the season. He said Prism said he's hitting 240. Offense from the catching position is down this year league wide. We might get a decent bullpen arm for him.
What did we miss? Is there another penalty? Wow, yep, there is.
What's going on there? I mean, they don't wait. So they called a penalty on Tampa.
It looks like he was trying to pass through. He got hit and then got tangled up. He was trying to still get out. Both the defenseman and goalie are just still tangled up.
You can't tell me Kemper's not glad. Literally, think Kemper's got his stick the entire time.
Or if there's a penalty on the goalie, I didn't see what happened there.
How's that not a penalty on Kemper? How's that not a penalty on Colorado? The goalie's allowed to hold your stick, but nobody else is? Holding the stick is a penalty, right? You can't hold the stick. Ladies, don't get excited.
I'll try not to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trading. Right, like I said, right now, your offense is the core. That's everything that you need it to be. You're trying to get better in specific areas that involve not making your offense any worse. I guess the only two guys that you think about would be Gene and Didi, because you could trade one of the two and still be okay. Because you trade one and then Bryson Stott slides full time into the other position and you don't miss a beat. But no, I mean mainly. And this is what's cool about having trying to trade for a bullpen arm instead of trying to trade for a top of the rotation guy is the fact that you usually don't have to sell the farm to get a top bullpen arm and bring him in at the deadline, as opposed to where a top of the rotation guy usually costs you a lot more. So there's probably options there. You just got to make the right moves and target, a couple guys that you like and figure things out. But yeah, you got to be buyers at the deadline at this point. You got to figure out ways to improve the bullpen. And if you can improve the bullpen, I'm going to agree to the poll question and say, yeah, we can be legitimate contenders because I think the offense can compete with any team in the league. And as long as you can score runs, you can win games. But you've got to be able to figure out a way once you score those runs and you're taking a lead in the late innings, you got to figure out a way to close it out and seal the deal. So I think that's where I'm at with it. I just need to figure out a way to make this team better at sealing the deal. Come on. Damn it! With the fucking wide open look at the fucking net, and we don't fucking put it in the net. Fuck! God damn it, Tampa! So they called penalties on both teams. Okay.
It was a nice.
That's 4-on-4
right there.
Yeah, I know that's one you need to score with. You need to put that one in the net.
Yep.
That would have been big.
You had him beat.
Yeah. So Daniel, do me a favor. You're the guy that's kind of good at this. Look up your the top bullpen arms that are going to be available for trade here.
On the trade block, or just guys that are free agents right now?
The guys that are probably like the hot trade deadline names.
Okay. Okay, here's the 125. Let me see if I can switch it out to just bullpen. MLB. Okay, this is June. So this is a couple of days ago. You got Alex Colon, Castillo is a starter. Okay, not him.
It's hard to see who's available now and
like a Liam Hendricks, right? Like Liam Hendricks with the White Sox seems to be a name that's always talked about at this time.
Okay, you got Jorge Lopez. He's a reliever for the Baltimore Orioles. He has 28 games, 33 innings, 15 hits. He's given up 0 home runs. He has 34 Ks, 13 walks, and a .82 ERA.
That's a name. See that? There's a name right there. Like that's a guy. Target that guy. Oh, well, can he go? Is he close? I don't give a fuck. I know he's got a .82 ERA and he can get guys out. So if you can get guys out and you're somebody that can make my bullpen better, yeah. And what do you think? They're going to ask for the top prospect in your system for that guy? Fuck no, of course not.
And I think
the Orioles are just looking to try to get better and try to this is a guy that right now is a hot name, and you maybe get a couple guys that can make your team better as you build. The Orioles already have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. They're looking for ways to try to improve their team in different ways until all those young guys are ready and they want to compete here in a few years. But that's a name right there. Boom. And then you tell me we don't have somebody we could trade right now on this. You can't trade Rafael Marchand or somebody. And that was the lead fucking guy in that deal.
David, if Lightning continue to get like that tonight, I don't think that there's a chance they win.
4-0. No, saved it.
Yeah, but with John Means and Mullins out, I think the de facto closer right now for the Orioles. With them not playing well, they might look to get
could
prospects.
Have you closing games, Daniel. Yeah. The Orioles could have you closing games, and it wouldn't mean a difference for their season. So,
but that's kind of the funny thing, though, with them, though, is they always have a closer that's good, but they can't win, so it makes that closer not mean that much. It's kind of like when it reminds me of Ken Giles on this team. He was a good closer, but we had a shitty team, so it didn't mean anything to have a closer.
Penalty on the goalie for holding the stick. It's crazy.
But you got him, not him. You got Dinnerson Lamet from the Padres. 10 games.
The Padres would probably be a little bit harder to make a deal with because they're really good and they've got playoff aspirations.
They're going to be making it one of their own.
Right. They're going to make it a lot harder for you to make a trade. That's how I'm like, all right, so like, give me bad teams with guys that are like, you're just trying to sell at the deadline.
Like you said, I'm
we needed to know that, David.
I'm just reading it down, but you got, just like you said, Kyle Hendricks, he's on the list.
I like Hendricks. Hendricks is a good name.
Yeah. You got not him. Those are the 2 or 3 notable relievers on the list right now.
Are they talking about Kyle Hendricks or Liam Hendricks?
Kyle Hendricks.
Wow. So the Cubs are trying to sell. Yeah, yes. I mean,
and he's
so there's not really any sexy names, I guess you would talk about from like a back end of the bullpen type thing. But I mean, sometimes it's not always the sexy names or the sexy moves that are the huge difference makers, right? Like we actually seen that firsthand. We went and got Joe Blanton. Like there's moves like that we've made in our history that have been the ones that have kind of been, the biggest difference makers that weren't necessarily blockbusters. Actually, the ones that we made that were blockbusters, the Oswalt deal, things like that, never really, surmounted to anything for us. So, is there another penalty here with 0.7 seconds to play?
I see 2.9.
This first period has been an absolute disaster.
Especially if you're a Lightning fan.
Well, I mean, is anybody an Avalanche fan here? Good Lord, you fucking piece of shit.
Okay, so there's David Bednar of the Pirates. He has a 1.8 ERA.
There you go. There's another one.
Dating back all the way to last year. So that's this year, and then right now it's a 1.8 ERA on the Pirates. So they'll probably look to shop him since they're not good. Okay. Not him.
Finally, a bleeding stops and the Lightning can regroup and see what there's anything they can do differently go in the rest of this game because they need it.
Yeah, I mean, what we've talked about with the Avs is how they're like really, and we even saw the statistic there in the first period. They're hot starters, and then it's almost like they get off to that hot start and they try to cruise the rest of the way. They protect their lead, sort of thing. If I need the Lightning to score 3 goals, I need 2 here in the second period, right? Give me 2 in the second period. I'm glad I didn't take the money line, right? But still, I mean, you're playing from behind. That means you're really aggressive. I got to see what happens here in the second period. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about anything yet. I bet $12 on it, for God's sakes.
And the big thing for the Avalanche is they got David Camper back for this finals. He didn't play half of the series. In the last one, they gave up a lot of goals. This is a guy.
I agree, but although I'll say what's weird about the Avs, unlike a lot of like when you talk the NHL playoffs, a lot of times you can ride the hot goalie to the Stanley Cup. The Avs' weakness the entire year, even in the playoffs, has really been the goalie. It's not that Kemper's been bad. It's just that they're just so good everywhere. That's probably been, if they have a weakness, that's their weakness. But they've probably been the best team in hockey, top to bottom, like all year long. When you really look at it.
Even if you date back to when they're the number 1 overall team 2 years ago, and they got upset by the Dallas Stars. The reason
they've been figuring it out for a couple of years, sure.
Yeah. Well, the reason they lost that series was because the starting goalie went out, the number 2 goalie went out, and then they were stuck with the guy that hadn't played, and he would give up 4 or 5 goals, and then they just lose because they'd have to play from behind, even with how explosive that offense is. And that's why, even though they had decent play last year, they brought in David Camper he was in, of course, Arizona and Minnesota. He's been playing top 5 goaltending this year for him, and it's added that different element to the team where not only can they score, but you got a guy that can block the net and they can win games, close games now, like 2-0, 2-1, because they have a guy that they can trust in net. But it just so happens that they score so many goals really quickly because that's the MO of the team. They can get fast starts on, and then they rely on Camper to later on when they kind of cooled down to hold the fort down at the end, and it's worked for them all year. In the Western Conference Finals, even though they played great, didn't even have him. He was out for 3-4 games. They were still winning, but they were winning 5-4, 5-3 games because of their backup being in. So, to me, playing a team like Tampa, they needed David Camper. If he wasn't in, I think this would have been a totally different start to the series because Tampa would be capitalizing on some of these goals with the backup in.
It's one of those things where I think it's been obvious, like, it's hard to three-peat obviously in anything, but I thought like you looked at the Western Conference or the you said, okay, if the Lightning get out of the Eastern Conference and they match up, in the Stanley Cup with anybody, who's the team that is their biggest threat? It's been Colorado, and I think it's been Colorado for a couple of years now, but especially this year when you looked at the way they've just been playing all year long. I can tell you somebody that bets on sports, right? Like Colorado seemed like a play. Like if you could find a way to bet on Colorado on an NHL game, you threw money on Colorado because they were just that, one way or another. Over 1.5 goals in the first period was always a big play with them. Money line, obviously a big play for them, but sometimes the money line would be still juicy. You're like, got to find a better angle, and you bet for them to score, like the 1.5 goal first period type of thing. They've been a hot team to bet on this year because they're just that good. And you look at it and you go, the Lightning can't win every Stanley Cup, right? Like it's not. Somebody's got to be able to go in there and make something happen. And they've got a Stanley Cup team. You look at their roster, you look at what they are. It's not all you're going to think. If they win it, you're going to go, man, wow, that was what a surprising win. That it's nothing surprising about the Avalanche being here and being in a position to win the Stanley Cup. They've got a great roster, and they've spent the past 3, 4, 5 years building it to what it is, and you're starting to see it pay dividends. Hell, McKinnon's been there forever, right? McKinnon's been there for a decade now or so, right? Like, so
he's a top 5 player in the league, and he got this roster, but because the roster's so good, sometimes you don't hear about it because they're loaded, and then you got a guy on the defensive side, Cale Makar, who is just killing it this playoffs. He's an offensive defender, but then he can also stay back, and he's been a big-time playmaker for him, even when McKinnon hasn't been playing well. He's been the de facto number 2 guy for him on the defensive side, and he can get the ball, get the puck up, and get the guys in space and cause havoc, and that's why he's over 20 points in the playoffs right now at the defender side.
Yeah, I mean, they got, it's almost like the Lightning when you look at it, like you're like, oh, the Lightning have so many guys that can beat you. Well, so do the Avalanche. They've just got so many guys that can just make things happen, score goals, make plays, beat you in all different types of ways. It's kind of a great championship matchup. It's almost like what you hope you get in all sports is two rosters that you look at and you go, yeah, these are two really, really equal teams. Look how good they both are. They got tons of star power on both sides. This is going to be fun to watch, and that's what this should be. Vasilevsky hasn't played well, obviously. Here they're showing the most goals allowed in the first period of the first 2 games of a Stanley Cup final, but hey, they allowed they allowed 3 goals in the first period of game 1, and they came back and set that game to overtime, right? So it's we talked about it. It'll be if Tampa's got to, whether they win this game or not, okay, whatever. But I think you've got to come back and try to make something of this game, right? You've got to make some noise here and really make a statement. Like you can't let Colorado run you out of the building here and then go to your place in game 3. Where it just really feels like you just got kicked in the balls in game 2. Like you really got to try to fight back here and show that, hey, you're not just going to come in here, you're not going to kick our ass. We're better than that. We've got more pride than that, and there's a reason we're back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. Like, you've got to, I don't know how to feel. I guess as somebody that bet on the Lightning to score at least 3 goals, I like it because you're chasing now. So that means you've got to go. You've got to put your pedal to the metal. But even so, I think if you just look at it from like a hockey perspective or a sports perspective in general, It's one of those things where you're saying, okay, you either got two chances, you got two choices: roll over and die, or fight back with everything you've got. And this is a situation where championship teams fight back with everything they have. So these next two periods, I mean, that's an ugly first period if you're the Lightning, but it can't get any worse, can it? Like, you really got to sit here and think, okay, something's got to happen here in these next two periods, right?
One scoring chance. That's just no, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. You're like, it's almost like if it rains, it pours sort of thing. Like, what could go wrong did go wrong in that first period for Tampa. It was just so bad. Right? So.
And one of the guys on the Colorado team that's been very underrated the past couple of years was the guy that I bet Toronto is kicking themselves for trading, and that's Kadri. Kadri's played well since coming over in that trade.
Isn't he like 45? I mean, like, not literally, but just like, I mean, like, he's fucking old, right?
He's up there, but he's had kind of a resurgence on Colorado.
Yeah, but he's a guy that if you're Colorado, you bring in because he's just kind of the cherry on top. He's supposed to try to complete everything that is your championship roster. Here's a guy that's been around the block so many times and can bring something that maybe we just need to figure, okay, we've got the talent. What else do you need to get over the top? And it's maybe a guy with that type of mindset and leadership, and a guy that's been there and done all that in this league. But I can understand why. I mean, I guess I understand what you say. Toronto's in a similar position. But, I mean, for Toronto at the same time, you've got a guy in Austin Matthews, and you've got a generational talent where you're like, okay, that's riding and dying with right now. That is what it is. If you could get something for Kadri, I guess I can understand why they trade him, or why they let him go in this moment. You're just not getting anything else, out of him. It is what it is at this point in his career. So, one man's treasure, though, one man garbage, another man's treasure, sort of thing. Well, okay. So the Avs find a way to bring him in, right, and put him to good use. But if he ends up in he could go play for the Flyers and it'd be absolute garbage. You'd be like, oh, this guy's bringing absolutely nothing to the table. He does nothing for us.
Well, he was able to just go in there. They didn't have that many pieces left to add to the team. And he was just like, bloop, you got him on there. Toronto wanted to get rid of his
And winning championships isn't all about talent either, right? We know this. We've seen this in all sports. Winning championships, a lot of teams have championship talent. But you just, like, there's a certain dynamic when it comes to all championship teams, especially teams that become dynasties. We're seeing it with the Warriors. Yes, Steph's an all-time great. We'll talk about that here, I would think, relatively soon, Steven. Maybe this is a good segue moment. But, like, the glue that's held Golden State together for all these years has been Draymond Green, right? I mean, really, when you talk about it, they've got all these Steph's a great scorer, generational talent, has changed the game with the impact, the way the game's changed, not just at the NBA level, but all levels of basketball because of him. Will be talked about forever. Klay Thompson's probably the greatest shooter of all time. Like, we talk about Steph. Steph's the great, he scored more threes than anybody, but like efficient-wise, Klay Thompson's the most efficient shooter the game's ever seen. But like, they had KD for a while, all that. But what's been there and kind of been, if you take Draymond Green off of those Warriors teams, are they the dynasty that they are? Do they win the 4 championships? And I would say I'd bet everything I ever had to my name that no, they're not, because Draymond Green adds a certain level of, just a certain aspect to what that team is that nobody else can add. It's a smack you in the mouth mentality, right? You're not going to come bully us. If anything, we're going to bully you. You don't bully us, we bully you. And you need a guy like that. It's like when Gretzky had Marty McSorley following him everywhere he went in the NHL, right? Like, no matter where Wayne Gretzky ended up, it seemed like Marty McSorley was on his team. You need to have a guy like that that's going to be the guy that kind of is, the enforcer when you're Steph Curry and you're 6'3" and you're a $180, and you're not going to be the guy that's stepping up to smack anybody in the mouth. Klay Thompson's not smacking anybody in the mouth. The one guy that they've had that's that guy that's the dirty work guy has been Draymond Green, and every dynasty's had it. The Bulls had Dennis Rodman, right? The first three-peat, they had a couple different guys that did all the dirty work, but they always had dirty work guys. Horace Grant was a guy that did a little bit of everything, even when Dennis Rodman was there, right? Then he left to go to the Magic, and he was that guy there. The Lakers had guys, Derek Fisher and guys like that you looked at and you went, okay, they were never stars, but they were just guys that did things in big spots. Robert Horry, he was a part of multiple different dynasties, right? There's guys that are just they do big things in big spots that you need if you're going to be that good and be like there's what separates, I guess, like the greats, the good from the all-time greats sort of thing. And every team's Draymond's been that guy for Golden State. So you look at the Lightning have figured that out. The Lightning have had a little bit of everything, and we talk about understanding what it takes to win. Well, they figured out what it takes to win, and they were a team for a while that had all that talent but didn't know what it took to win. They kept getting upset in the playoffs, and they finally put it all together. They win back-to-back Stanley Cups. If Colorado, let's put it like this, if Colorado wins this series and they win the Stanley Cup, is there anything to think that they can't come back next year and do it again? I mean, they're that good too, aren't they? Are they not that good of a team?
They just got to make a couple moves contract-wise to keep themselves under the salary. That's the only thing that they have to worry about with next year. And then after next year, they're going to have a lot more problems because they'll have 4 or 5 big-name guys that need to be re-signed, like Nathan McKinnon will need to be re-signed. I think Cale Makar will need to too. But that's like you're worried about that next year. Right now, you're worried about the now. You're looking. You go win your Stanley
Cup, right? Like you win a championship, you worry about anything else because you win one championship, it takes care of everything for the next 5 or 10 years. It really does.
And going back to Draymond, the one thing about his game that was really relevant to the Warriors was his passing, his playmaking. He was probably the best passer on the team.
He's not that guy anymore.
Yeah,
but
he allows Curry. And he allows Curry to just shoot and get open, even at the point guard spot. He allows him to just do that. They were able to add more pieces to the bench to where Curry didn't really have to do everything himself.
Well, Curry and Clay, they love to be able to roll off screens. That's their game, and Jordan Poole does it now. So does Wiggins. They love to be able to roll off screens, and who better to set screens than a guy like Draymond, right? You're not, if Draymond sets the screen, it's not like you're not gonna work your way through his screen. He's setting the screen, it's solid, it's firm. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You ain't getting through it, right? So, there's a lot of that. What's amazing is the Lakers. They had Shaq, right? The Pistons won back-to-back championships there. In the mid 2000s, they had Ben Wallace. He's a Hall of Famer. Has there been a dynasty like the Warriors that hasn't had a big man? Like, the Spurs won 5, but they had Tim Duncan, they had David Robinson, like they always had a legit big man. The Warriors have never really had a legit big man. I don't even know if Draymond counts as a legit big man at 6'9". And the way he plays the game, he's just more of like a hard-nosed scrapper. He's not really, like a legit big man type guy that you think of. Like, what's amazing is how the Warriors have done all this without a legit big man really at any point. The closest thing they maybe had to a legit big man has been this year. Looney's probably done more for them as a big man than any big man they've had in this stretch. When you really think about it.
Because the number 2 pick hasn't really done anything. He was hurt or
James Wiseman's been disappointing, sure. But Looney's made up for that because everything Looney's become, you were hoping Wiseman was going to be. But Looney's really grown into a solid big man like that. Can give you 25 minutes. He's going to rebound the ball for you, going to play solid defense inside. You don't need him to score a ton because, you do plenty of scoring if you're the Warriors in all your other ways. But I think if you're the Warriors, what's amazing, you look at this dynasty that they've built, it was like the Lakers obviously had their run with Kobe and Shaq, but the Lakers struggled once Shaq left to really recreate any of that and put anything together for a long time. And then, they finally got something in there with Pau Gasol and that group where, they went and won another title. And won 2 more titles. But it took them a few years, right? Like it really, like for a while, they were bad. They were bad, and they were only Kobe. And it just, even that trade to bring Pau Gasol in was like really like, you look at that trade, you're like, it even got criticized by a lot of coaches and people throughout the league where you're like, wow, is this not the league like throwing them a bone? Holy shit. Like, how did that trade? Go back and look at that trade that brought Pau Gasol from Memphis, or he came from the Grizzlies or whatever. to come to the Lakers. And I think they sent Kwame Brown and a couple other players to the Grizzlies in that deal. You're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how does this deal happen? Just absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like, I know Kobe's one of your stars and all that. What was the big problem was the league should have never scrapped the deal from a couple years before when Chris Paul was going to go to the Lakers. And the league was, I guess, I don't remember they owned the league at the time because they owned the team at the time because they were in bankruptcy or whatever. And they said it was they didn't want there to be that much of a talent difference or whatever between teams. Something stupid that David Stern came up with for why the Lakers and the Lakers in New Orleans couldn't make the trade to send Chris Paul to the Lakers. But could you imagine Chris Paul and Kobe and the damage they could have done together? That would have been absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean, like the Warriors, the Spurs, they had Tim Duncan throughout the whole thing, but they went through a couple different dynasties. Like it was Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and then that grew into Tim Duncan with Ginobili and Tony Parker, and then Kawhi Leonard enters the picture. And, it's like, they won it in all different ways. The Warriors, though, like they had a stretch, obviously, with their initial, big three, which was Steph and Clay and Draymond, and then you added KD to the picture. Then KD leaves, and they're bad for a little bit. They go through their injuries. They go through all these things. But you bring in a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who was a top overall pick, but his career was dead. Right? I mean, like, he's in Minnesota. He looks like a guy, okay, like, whatever, like, fuck you, you ain't nothing. And he ends up in Golden State. Now he's an all-star. They're talking about a contract extension and how big of a part of that, the future he is for them. A guy like Jordan Poole, who turns into a really, really good player for them, and is a guy that can shoot the three and score in a lot of different ways. And it's really amazing, like greatness kind of, it's like it's amazing how contagious it is when you hang around greatness, how much better you could become as a player. And that's what you've seen. You've seen them be able to, to bring in guys, in other ways where, 3 years ago we didn't think this was possible, but here they are, the best team in the league again. And I think that has to add to the legacy of what you're talking about, just not with Steph, but Steve Kerr as a head coach and what this Warriors dynasty is. Part of what me and Steven talked about was how does Steph compare to like LeBron and something like that. They've got the same amount of rings now, right? When you compare the legacies, they got the same amount of rings.
Half the attempts. And
same amount of rings. Steph's done it in a lot less years, but I think it's way more impressive how Steph has done it, right? Like LeBron goes team hop and he couldn't get it done in Cleveland the initial time, goes to Miami, joins up with two other Hall of Famers that were all,
team hop
already established, Chris Bosh is already established. Then he goes to Cleveland, he got Kyrie Irving. Kyrie bails him out with the big three-pointer and the 40-point performances in the NBA Finals. And then he goes to the Lakers, same type of thing. You pair up with Anthony Davis. Like, to do what Steph's done in today's NBA, where it seems like everybody's trying to form a super team, and Steph has stayed in one place, and they've kind of done this in multiple different ways over what is now an 8-year stretch. The one, I think the only one I can compare it to is San Antonio. The Spurs did something similar where they kind of just had a core that lasted for close to a decade, but they kind of just had a bunch of moving pieces to go along with it and always found a way to make it all work in a way where they were always really, really good. I guess I'm a self-professed LeBron hater, so maybe that, that helps it. But for me, what Steph and what the Warriors have done is way more impressive than anything LeBron has done in this stretch. It just is. Daniel, how do you feel?
I'm on 50-50 with that because it's been impressive, but they did have Curry. They didn't, who was a top 10 pick. They did have, of course, Clay. They did have Draymond Green. That those have been the sole pieces in there.
But homegrown talent. That's all homegrown
talent. That has to change. So it's kind of like the Spurs where they had Duncan, but then they had Ginobili and Parker for majority, not all of it, but majority of it. And they were able to win. Duncan was able to win 5, and then the others were able to win 4. Then they got lucky and added Kawhi Leonard to the mix. Whereas I feel like the one thing with the LeBron that's always going to haunt him is the fact that he in his grandstand in the first 10 to 12 years of his career, he had to deal with the fact that the owner just didn't help him improve that team. He did a lot of stuff on his own, trying to will that team to victory, and he just went up against a better team each time in Golden State.
The Magic weren't better. The Magic had one player. The Magic had Dwight Howard. Hito Turkoglu is not a like. I'll do that point with you when LeBron was with his initial run with the Cavs. Because people act like it was just LeBron. Hold on. Though Anderson Varejao was an all-star. Drew Gooden was a legitimate, a legitimate power forward that was a really good player in his initial stretch with LeBron. It's not like they had nobodies that were playing with LeBron doing his initial run. He played with other guys that were all-stars. Like I said, Anderson Varejao was an all-star at the center position. He didn't play, I guess, with like Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh like he did once he got to Miami, but he wasn't just carrying scrubs either. Like, I hate that center. Oh, he carried scrubs in Cleveland. Anderson Varejao wasn't a scrub. It was Drew Gooden.
He didn't play better until later on, right before he left. The last year was when Anderson Varejao started to show signs of being a good player. But when they should have
never, ever lost to the Magic that year. Like they had no business losing to the Magic.
You acted like the Magic weren't a good team. They were one of the hottest.
Well, the Magic were a good team, but the Cavs had no business losing to them. Not to mention the Cavs also lost to the Celtics on their home floor. The Cavs were the higher seed and lost to Boston on their home floor when they were the higher seed. Like, again, I get like Boston's good with Paul Pierce and all that, but you were the better team. You were the higher seed. You were the better regular season team. You've got home court advantage, and you find a way to lose that series. If you're that good, if you're a GOAT, if you're like an all-time great like that, you're not losing those series. And LeBron lost all those series until he got to a point where he was able to play with other all-time greats.
But you got to remember, how long did it take him? What was it, 7-8 years to get to that point? How long did it take Jordan? I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying, how long did it take Jordan to start winning series? It took him 10 years to get to the point where he got started.
And Jordan was carrying scrubs until Pippen became anything for him.
But the management actually made an effort to add guys.
And then the difference was at similar points in their careers where Jordan was getting to a point where you said, okay, this is a make or break point in your career as far as whether you're going to win something. Jordan's built something with Horace Grant and with Scottie Pippen and with Phil Jackson, whereas LeBron dipped and went to went to a situation with Miami where there's already established stars, which that's not even the part that bothers me. I don't care. That makes basketball fun. Go play with other superstars. But him making like a 2-hour special on ESPN to announce something is just like one of like the most egotistical things I've ever seen in the history of pro sports. And like it really made him like public enemy number one. There was no reason for him to have to sit there and turn that into a fucking 2-hour-long special, whatever it became with ESPN to announce he's going to go play with Dwayne Wade. If you want to go play with with one of your best friends in the league, go ahead. I'm fine with that. I actually have no problem. Like, good. Super teams are fun. It's fun to watch superstars play together. That's awesome. Why is this about you, though? Like LeBron always does, he finds a way to make it about him, which is another thing with Steph where you're why does Steph have a better legacy than LeBron? Because, hey, Steph took a back seat to allow KD to be the guy in Golden State for a couple years. LeBron has never taken a back seat to anybody. It was Dwayne Wade that took the back seat in Miami so that LeBron could be the guy.
He took a back seat
after LeBron lost the series. One more point, Daniel. After LeBron lost the series to Dallas in the NBA Finals his first year with Miami, that he should have what the fuck are we doing? You've got Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Terry. That your second best player is Jason Terry. Don't give me this fucking Tyson Chandler shit bullshit. You lost to Dirk Nowitzki, Tyson Chandler, and Jason Terry. Only one of those guys is a Hall of Famer, by the way, and you had 3 Hall of Famers on one team.
So you tell me he didn't take a back seat when he took a back seat the first year in Miami, and that's
he didn't take a back seat to shit. He didn't take a back seat to nothing.
So what did people criticize him the first year in that series? Because he took a back seat to Wade.
He sucked.
No, because he wanted to be more of a playmaker. You can't make things up and say he sucks because he took a back seat to a guy that was already on the team. He was a star on the team.
His game has been the exact same thing since he entered the league. He's always been a playmaker.
Exactly, and he's always played the same way, but he knows how to be unselfish. And that's what he did. He took a back seat there, but then people rode him. So then he was like, okay, now I'm not going to take a back seat year 2. Uh-huh. They win the championship 2 years in a row. Then he goes to the LA, takes a backseat to Anthony Davis, and they win a championship.
He
And
didn't take a backseat to Anthony Davis.
Yes, he did. And if you don't want to
No,
admit
he
it,
didn't.
you're
No, he
crazy.
didn't. Daniel, I smoke some good shit, but I think you're smoking better shit than I am nowadays.
No, you must be on some really good shit because that year Anthony Davis was
I've got a
on fire.
nicotine vape. It's some like stupid yogurt ice cream nicotine vape to go along with my beer. See, I'm on all types of good shit. Can Tampa Bay put a puck in the net for God's sakes? Holy ball sack!
They're not. They're getting their butts whooped now. It's 4-0.
And everybody gave shit because they said that Anthony Davis should have won MVP of that playoffs, but it went to LeBron, and LeBron even said it should have.
The bubble playoffs don't count for anything. I don't want to hear about that championship. Stop it.
Oh, you can't just come in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, LeBron's championship resume. First of all, one of them, I mean, even the one where they beat Golden State, like the league fucking sits there and throws you a bone, like they suspend Draymond for Game 7 and literally like make that like or for Game 6 and make that a series where all of a sudden it becomes something where, you know, it gives LeBron a chance. And even then, if it's not for Kyrie hitting that 3 and dropping 40 points multiple times in that series, right? Like again, like, you know, it's like this idea that LeBron did all this shit, like, you know, it's just silly. Like LeBron took the easy way out for all of his championships and gets so much love for it. It's almost sickening. I don't know. I mean, like the dynasties are like when you're with a single team that like maintains, you know, excellence for a long period of time. The Warriors, the Spurs, the Bulls, teams like that. LeBron's like his own dynasty. LeBron doesn't give away. LeBron's his own brand. That's what I'm saying. I actually like LeBron and the shit he's done more off the court than I do the shit he's done on the court. He's such a prima donna on the court, it drives me crazy. But the fact that he's built charter schools and he sends inner city kids to school for free and sends kids to school on scholarships and all that, and all this money that he's throwing around to help inner city communities and make a difference there, that's a huge thing. And I think that's a way bigger deal than anything he's done on the court.
See that's
you want me to rile up some LeBron nutlickers? I'll even go out and say LeBron's not as good of a player as Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's a better player of this generation than LeBron James.
No, I still think that LeBron is number 2 at all time in players.
Nope.
Yeah. I would say Tim Duncan's better than Steph Curry, but that's just me.
He might be. No, he might. I might not even disagree with that, but he's definitely better than LeBron James.
But then again, a lot of people for some reason hate Tim Duncan just because he's a born player. But then he won 5 rings, and I believe he went 5-1 in the finals. I believe it was because I think they lost the 1 year to Miami
to the Pistons or something, didn't they?
No, they beat the Pistons. They lost the LeBron and the Heat 1 year in Game 7, thanks to Ray Allen.
Yes, and then they beat LeBron in the Heat 1 year.
Yeah, with Kawhi, yes. So they went. So they got him back for the win for the next year. Yeah, because I think it was back-to-back years.
Yeah, the Heat beat the Thunder, and then they beat, I guess, the Spurs.
They beat the Thunder, they beat the Spurs, and then lost to the Spurs.
They lost to the Spurs.
Yeah, and then
LeBron dipped out again, which is so weird. I get Cleveland because Cleveland, you're like, you know, what type of superstars are you bringing me? He could have stayed in Miami and built such a legacy in Miami because you could have attracted all types of superstar free agents to come with you and shit. Like, that was just such a weird thing. I even think if he would have stayed in Miami, it would have changed my mind about him. But leaving Miami to go back to Cleveland and then dip to LA, it's just like the dude. He reminds me of the homie hoppers that we all used to fucking know back in high school and shit. Yeah. Like he's just riding new dick every chance he gets just because it's the new fresh dick. Like, holy shit! Like,
he should have stayed in Cleveland the whole time. It's just that whatever that GM's name, he's with the Pelicans now, just didn't help him. Even
I don't blame him for leaving Cleveland the first time. I really don't. I don't actually blame him for leaving. My issue is how he turned it into a whole fucking spectacle, you know, involving himself. And I'm going to Miami. Okay, then go to Miami. Like, why the fuck is this? Why are we spending 2 hours on ESPN? Are we fucking kidding me right now? I would have rather watched
you wanna know why?
softball over this.
You want to know why?
Like,
Because ESPN.
Jesus Christ.
James was finally on a power play, right?
You want to know why? Because ESPN went here. Here's $2 million. We'll pay you to do this 2-hour thing, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. What player's gonna turn that down? Because ESPN, it was the ringleaders behind that whole special because it's gonna get eyes on the network. And who's the best player to do that? Then the best player in the league at the time, LeBron James. So he's gonna take it all right up front. But in reality, it was ESPN the whole time. He could have said no, but he probably got paid to do it. That's what I think happened. He got paid to do it.
So let's go Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, and whatever else the fucking Lakers want for LeBron. Or is he just going to sign here as a free agent?
Well, what is he right now?
Well, he's talking about where he wants to sign next because he said he's not going to. Here was his words, Daniel. Tell me if this isn't funny. He goes, I'm not going to commit my loyalty to the Lakers because I have to see what type of commitment they show me when it comes to building a winning roster around me. This upcoming offseason, as if he isn't the guy that's over here building this roster around him. I've got to see what the Lakers do. The Lakers do whatever the fuck you want them to do. You're the reason Russell Westbrook came here. And we all said this is going to be a terrible idea because now you just got another guy that shoots 20% from three-point range. Great. Now we've got 0 people that can shoot from 3. You've got Wayne Ellington, and you've got that unrookie drafted free agent dude from Oklahoma, the Reed kid or whatever the fuck his name was. Those are your 2 perimeter players. Outside of that, you got a bunch of dudes that can't finish at the rack anymore, and none of them can shoot from 3.
I said it all along. I said all along that they were going to regret trading for Westbrook, and then to give up what they gave up for him was just a mistake. I've always been against Westbrook guy because he's a hell of a player. He just doesn't fit in today's game, in my opinion, with how he plays, and he just takes the team down. And I feel like the whole point of him going to LA was to play second fiddle to Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis has only been healthy for 1 year, and that's the year they won the championship. The last couple of years, he's been hurt 50% of the time, and it forces LeBron to have to be the number 1 guy. Whereas that year they won, he was the backup. He was the number 2. He scored a little bit less, but then he passed the ball more. And that's what he did. And now he's been forced to do more and more at the age of 38. He's at the point where he's just like, I need to just find my last chance to win. Because he's only got 1 or 2 years left.
Oh my God. Steven, can you please? I cannot believe, seriously, why did people that make I like LeBron too, but people that try to make these types of excuses for the guy or try to spin the narrative in this way, why are we spinning the narrative like this? As if LeBron hasn't controlled the narrative this entire time. LeBron has controlled the narrative in every direction that it has gone for the past decade. I remember in high school when he initially made the decision to go to Miami. That was that long ago. It was over 10 years ago now that he made that decision. It was, I believe it was 12 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 2010, 2011, right? That was the first year with Miami. They lost to the Mavs in the NBA Finals. This idea that he hasn't controlled the narrative everywhere he's gone for the entire time that this whole thing is going on, to the point where he's even talked about, you say he's got a couple years left, he says he's not going to retire until he gets to play at least a year with his son. So you want to talk about controlling narratives? His son will get drafted here in a few years, and wherever his son gets drafted, LeBron's going to end up signing as a free agent just so he can sit there and say he got to play with his son. It'll be a Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr. type story. Except LeBron's son will never be anywhere near as good as Ken Griffey Jr. was.
Total opposite. I don't even think you can say he would be as good as Ken Griffey.
He might not even be as good as Ken Griffey Sr., right? But you're LeBron's going to control the narrative. So how many players in the history of the game have been able to say, hey, so-and-so team just drafted my son. Okay, sign me so I can play with them. Literally, this is a guy that he's got the NBA wrapped around his finger. Whatever LeBron wants, LeBron gets. That's how the league works.
It's crazy. Be like that, for another 3-4 years?
I mean, I get it. The league has guys that make the money, but I mean, nobody's ever been showed this type of just
Yeah,
a
but here's
weird.
the thing like that we were
It's
talking
a
about the
weird
whole
culty type
Steph
feel to
versus
me.
LeBron thing. You would have to say like on the court, things of that nature. Steph has, I think, done a little bit better job off the court. LeBron has definitely done far more. I'm not sitting there saying that Steph hasn't done anything.
No, yeah, Steph's got his own charity and foundation and all that. But right, what LeBron has done off the court is going to reach more lives for a lot longer than what he's done on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like what LeBron's doing off the court is going to affect generations. It's going to impact generations of people.
Yeah, but Steph built up his brand over the last 10 years where it's going to probably take him another 4 or 5 more years and maybe another championship to kind of really separate himself from that. But
what Steph, Steph does something completely different off the court, but he's comfortable in what he does too, right? Like him and his wife have their own thing and they're comfortable in all that. But Steph has changed the game of basketball. His impact on the game of basketball and the way it's all played is had a much bigger impact than anything LeBron has done. Like LeBron, we've seen other players like that. LeBron's more of a physical specimen than any player, but like Magic Johnson played a similar form of basketball to what LeBron plays, where you could play positionless basketball
that's why LeBron
and score and facilitate and rebound and do all those things. If anything, I would say Magic Johnson, like when you look at him, you're like, yeah, like what LeBron is what Magic Johnson was, except Magic Johnson had more success. Now, granted, Magic played with better talent. I will say that, and I'll give you credit with that because I know that's where you're going to go, Daniel. Like Magic got to play with Kareem and guys like that, sure.
Well,
but
that's just obvious.
Like they're similar players. Like we had never seen anything really like Steph until Steph came around.
Well, we have. It's just that we never seen it in today's game. It was more like
not at that level.
80s.
Like you've never seen anything like at that level with Steph. Like guys consistently shooting 40-footers just because I'm wide open. Let me shoot a 40-footer. We've seen great 3-point shooters and great perimeter players, but Steph just took it to a whole nother level. And then on top of it, that he's just not a perimeter player. He could score in all different ways, and he plays some. He can play really good defense when he wants to. There's just he's the total package. In the way that all-time greats are supposed to be. I guess where do you rank him? Like if you've got like. I guess I had a fun conversation over the holidays with some of my family as we were watching the finals early on. It's like, if you rank them all-time point guards, who are your top 5 point guards ever? And where does he rank in that conversation?
That's tough because I don't even consider him a point guard. I consider him like a shooting guard because
but he plays the one. Like we all he plays the one. Like
yeah, but it's just
Allen
like
Iverson wasn't a true point guard either, but Allen, even though Allen spent time as the 2, Allen played more games at the point guard position than he did, in any other position. Like Steph spent time playing the 2, but same thing, he's played more games at point guard than anything else. So just for statistical purposes, he'll be a point guard, even though, I guess the style of play doesn't match up to what your typical point guards have been. But I guess take that out of it because we're in a position where we just mentioned positionless basketball.
Yeah.
We're now in a positionless basketball sort of generation. So, positions are just, I guess, what, kind of what you are in the media guide. Where does he rank for you, though? Like, we all know what I'm trying to say and what I'm asking. Where does he rank for you in that context, Dan?
That's tough. Maybe 3 or 4, maybe. Because to me,
so you have, I would assume, Magic Johnson's ahead of him, right?
Magic's this is just my opinion. Magic and Stockton are my 1 and 2.
I can't stand people that put Stockton ahead of him.
He's my number 1, so
but Stockton, obviously with the assist and all that, like the style of play for what, like, I guess the point guard position was created for. Maybe the only 2 I can have ahead of him are Magic and Oscar Robertson, and I think Oscar Robertson's one of the most underrated stars the league's ever seen. The first guy to average a triple-double in a season, sort of thing. Won a championship with Milwaukee with him and Kareem. They were the 1-2 punch. Rick Barry was a part of that, I believe. But still, you're talking about a team that it was built around Oscar and Kareem. I think those are the only 2 I could put ahead of him. Isaiah Thomas was maybe ahead of him for me for a little bit, but I think Steph championship number 4 surpasses that. I can't put a guy in Stockton who's never won a championship ahead of a guy in Steph who's got 4 rings and has revolutionized the game and changed the game in so many ways.
What do you think?
That's ludicrous.
What do you think Stockton did? He changed the game at a position where he was the smallest guy on the court. Against a guy like everybody gives Magic
Stockton didn't change the game like that.
He did.
He basically made this a 3-pointer shooter man's game.
Yeah, and Stockton was the one passing the ball at the time.
There was plenty of 3-point shooters. Like Stockton didn't change anything in that nature.
But you're saying
that never won a championship, but stop.
It's not.
Sure, the fact that he didn't win a championship plays a lot into the fact that he can't even be in this conversation.
I disagree.
And of the 2 superstars, him and Karl Malone is by far the better player.
He's not one of the best at that position, but
if we're talking about him and Karl Malone's the better player. So he wasn't even the best player on his own team.
I disagree with that even more again. Like, John Stockton is the guy that made that team run at a position where, what was he, 5'11", 6 foot? Whereas Magic Johnson was 6'11". Magic Johnson played 5 different positions, so he was never primarily a point guard.
Magic Johnson changed the game, though, too.
Well, at
Magic Johnson revolution. Magic Johnson created the idea of positionless basketball.
But who's going to have an easier time at that position, a guy 6'11", where he's taller than majority of the point guards at the time, or a guy at 5'10", 5'11" in John Stockton, and they were doing exactly the same shit, but Utah had less on their team, and Utah still won because of the same 2 guys. Everybody around them didn't do anything well, but it was always just them 2, whereas you had teams that had 3, 4 guys. You had the Lakers. Just like you said, they had 3, 4 superstars on the team. You got the Bulls, superstars. You got the Warriors, not just Steph, but they have Clay. They have Draymond Green. They even added Kevin Durant on the team to win. And the years that Durant was hurt, the year that
and then Durant leaves, and Durant can't do shit. And Durant can't do shit without everything that was the Warriors. So I think that argument was a lot better. 5 years ago, 3-4 years ago, I think the fact that Durant left, we kind of thought when Durant left, the Warriors and everything that the Warriors was over. And it's actually been the complete opposite. It's Durant's career that's kind of gone downhill.
Yeah.
And it's been the Warriors that have kind of found a way to rebuild the team back into a championship form and continue the dynasty. Speaks even more about it.
Well, I think the biggest move that they made to get back to this point was adding a guy, Andrew Wiggins, who was able to step his game up in the playoffs to complement a guy like Curry and Thompson.
But you're telling me that guys like Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins aren't like the players they are now because they get to practice every day next to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson?
Well,
watching those guys go to work every day, of course, is going to make you better. Jordan Poole has openly talked about how much better he's become as a player, and the reason he is what he is as a player is because of being able to play every day and study every day next to guys like Steph Curry and watching how they prepare and how they go about things. And and if we're talking about like guys like, oh, you talking about Stockton be undersized, it's not like Steph is like a guy that's like your prototypical NBA size. When Steph entered the league, he was 6'3" and $170, and he might not even be 6'3". That's like saying Allen Iverson's 6'1". Like, no, he's not. And like we both know that he, that's being generous. So you're talking about a guy that's undersized as Steph Curry that's also changed the game in a way where it's, you're like, hey, a guy at his size to do what he's done, win 4 championships, win 2 MVP awards. We used to say Allen Iverson is the best pound-for-pound player in the history of the league. I think Steph Curry at this point is the best pound-for-pound player in the history of the league. It's not like Steph's some guy that you look at and you go, you're prototypical for what you're supposed to be, especially in today's league. Like, Steph is to win 4 championships, the MVPs, to be the best. He had a stretch where he was the best player in the league and it wasn't close. Unanimous MVP. How many guys have won unanimous MVP awards? Things like that. Like, yeah, you're talking about a legacy that it's disrespectful to just. And I'm not even like, and I'm not a guy that like doesn't like Stockton either, because it's not like I want to sit about John Stockton overrated. Nah, you never heard me say he was overrated at any point in this conversation. I just think it's disrespectful to sit there and try to say that he's better than Steph Curry in any way, shape, or form right now. Steph has earned everything that has come with what his legacy is going to be.
But what you asked me was who was a better point guard. That's what you asked me. I don't consider
That's nonsense. I don't give a fuck. No, because see, you keep thinking about point guard as if the fact that they have to sit here and assist the ball 10 times a game every game. That's fucking nonsense. Stop thinking about the point guard in that. Who's the better player? Who's the better player? Point guard, I just said. All I said is
you can't change the question.
Hold on, Daniel. Hold on one fucking second. I'll let you retort.
No. 1 second. You have to ask one question, and then you can't change
it when I answer it. If you don't let me finish my point, we're just going to talk over each other if you don't let me finish my point. But by your logic, Magic Johnson's not a point guard either, because at 6'11", he played 5 different positions. You could have him play any of the positions you wanted to. Basketball, when your media guy look at, what's saying on your box score and in your stat line, not necessarily the way you play the game. If we're going to take point guard into account the fact that you have to be a guy that facilitates, that's sure. Then that means that it's Oscar Robertson, it's Jason Kidd, it's Steve Nash, John Stockton, but Steve, it's respectful. And the best player in basketball for a 6-year stretch. Great. The Suns were fun to watch those years, and I love those Suns teams with Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash and Sean Marion and Mike D'Antoni as their head coach. But why? Because Steve Nash averaged 16 and 12, he gets to win an MVP award. Was he really the best player in basketball those years? No. Steve Nash for me is just outside the top 5 point guard conversation. And for the record, you can be an all-time great without being top 5 at your position. That could be a thing too.
Yeah.
So all these guys that we're talking about are all-time greats. It's just, you can't have all of them in the top 5, right? But I hate this argument that you've got to be this facilitators type style of player, which I feel like is the argument you're trying to make, Daniel.
No, it's not.
Is that where you're going with
they placed him in? No, because he played in college. He played shooting guard. In his first couple of years, he played shooting guard. It wasn't until a few years ago that he actually played point guard. And to me, I always consider him a shooting guard, just like Iverson. I always considered him a shooting guard. He's played point guard for them for a long time. All throughout their championship runs, he was the one. He's always been a combo guard, and most elite guards in this league are a combo guard. Kyrie Irving's a combo guard at this point. The year they went to the finals, he was a shooting guard.
Every other year. No, he wasn't.
Yeah, Eric Snow
Steph?
was the point guard. No.
Oh, I thought you were talking about AI.
No, Allen Iverson.
Okay, you're talking about AI.
Yeah.
Great. And then Eric Snow. First of all, Eric Snow. Allen Iverson was the guy that played with the ball 80% of the time still, too. So, Eric Snow was technically the one in the box score, right? That's what I'm talking about.
I only hear half of what you're saying because you sound like a robot.
No, you're right in the sense that Eric Snow was the one when it came to, how it was listed in the box score and all that. Eric Snow was listed as the point guard, but Allen Iverson was playing with the ball in his hand 80% of the time. And, the only reason you're playing both of them on the court at the same time. So one of them has to be the 2. So Allen becomes the 2. But there was plenty of times during that stretch too where Eric Snow was on the court and Allen Iverson was the 1 and Aaron McHugh was your 2. So, again, Allen was one of the first, I don't know if you said the first, but he was, combo guards. Everybody's a combo guard now, it seems like. Trae Young's a combo guard. Donovan Mitchell's a combo guard. They're all combo guards now. Allen was kind of one of the original combo guards where you looked at it and went, is he a 1 or is he 2? I don't know. He's both. He does both. He's both. He's just a combo guard. He can play both positions and he's really good at both of them, sort of thing. Now it seems like if you're not a combo guard, there isn't really any space for you in the league. You kind of have to be able to do a little bit of both, right? You have to have some combo guard in you to be a star in this league. And yes, David, Steve Kerr's the greatest coach of all time. Sure, you don't win 4 championships to be the greatest coach in franchise history. What?
I don't think there would be a debate there.
Jeez, I should have just bet the fucking over goals in total. I shouldn't
You
even
should
fucking
have.
worried about the Lightning total.
I got the main event of the UFC on.
Live,
Right
man. Yeah, they're not.
That'd be
Your
6-0.
repeat is done, dude. That is not happening. That is dead.
I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's not looking good because they can still go home and win. It's just that if they lose this, they have to at least win one game on the road. It would be impossible for them to win without running in Colorado now. What's the score right now in the hockey game?
5-0.
5-0.
Jesus. Jesus. I got a buddy that's there right now. So.
Oh man! All right, hold on a sec. LaRue's hopping in here real fast. Hold on a sec. So let's pop that up. That being said, real quick switch gears here. This interview is brought to you by Gleason's Bar Grill, located at 6700 Mill Creek Avenue, Levittown, PA. Use that promo code A2D for 10% off your code wherever you dine in, take out, online, GleasonBarandSteak.com. What's up, bro? How you doing, bro?
How you doing?
You went over there? You having fun? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You hear me, bro? Hello?
I can hear you.
I know. I heard him, but I don't know.
Hey, LaRue. LaRue, can you hear me? Forget about Steven. Steven's ugly and annoying. Can you hear me? I don't think you can hear either one of us.
No, I don't think so. Gotcha.
Well, that was fun.
We tried. That was it happens. You know how it goes with technology and
I know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know better than most. You seen how different it is when you're here and then when you do your thing and you sound like Robot Man?
Pretty much.
All right, let's give him another second, see if that works. Yeah, it's doing. Can you hear us now? Nah, I stuck.
Now we can't hear him.
That's weird.
Can you hear us? Give a thumbs up if you can hear us.
Yeah, he can hear us. I know he can hear us. Yeah.
Okay, but we can't hear you.
Technology.
You can hear us, but we can't hear you.
Let's try to do it another time, LaRue. Go enjoy the rest of your evening, man.
He might have to back out of it thoroughly and then restart it and then come back in.
Yeah. Or we got 8 minutes left. The hockey's getting even crazier.
Yeah. We got round 3 of the main event right now, too.
Oh my God, I need a Tampa goal, seriously.
Emmett Cater's been good so far.
Yeah. Yeah, UFC is on right now for anyone who's wondering what Dave was talking about.
It's 29-28 Emmett right now. But then a couple people have it 30-27 him.
Oh, yeah. Well then.
Whew.
How is Colorado on the power play again?
Because they're good.
Oh man, your Lightning's getting it taken to them tonight, bro.
I didn't even bet. If I thought they were going to win, I would have bet them on the money line. But 5-3 sounded.
Because what do you need? What do you need? Just 2 goals and that's it.
I need 3 goals from the Lightning. Yeah, all I needed was 3. I didn't even give a fuck if they lost. I figured the Avs are really good, but Jesus Christ, even in game 1 they scored 3.
Jesus. Yeah, because what was it, 4-3 in that game, and now it's 5-0 now in this
Yeah,
game.
so you're like, all right, like whatever, like.
Isn't that crazy though? Like how dominant Vasilevsky was going into this, and now he's just getting onslaughted these first couple of games.
Well, it's not even that. First of all, his defense has done him no help today. I mean, like the Avs have just lived in the Lightning zone, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like you've just gotten absolutely dominated in all facets, which is like just bad. Like,
and this is why like we've had conversations like was the past couple of weeks, and I had it with buddies of mine where I told them I was like, this is why NHL playoffs is so much better than NBA playoffs, just because of the play. You have no born action. Well, up until now, because Tampa Bay's not showing you anything, but you're getting the best team from both sides playing each other, and it's getting big ratings for the sport right now. Essentially, hockey usually is like a third or fourth ranked amongst all the big time sports, but right now, like they've drawn it up a couple spots playoff wise, just because when it comes to playoffs, you get tuned in no matter what. You don't even have to be a hockey player. I know people that don't even watch hockey in general, and they tune into these games because it gets exciting. Whereas I feel like with basketball, it was kind of dull this year. Like you either had like blowouts or like teams that you knew that would won. So it's like,
see, I got the opposite feel about the finals, because I felt like anytime the Celtics are involved in an NBA finals, the world cares, because nationally people give a fuck about the Celtics. But I felt it helped that you had a lot of star power.
That's for sure.
I also thought it helped that you had a lot of star power in this year's NBA finals. Steph, obviously he's established, Tatum. That's fine. But Jason Tatum, he had a rough playoffs, obviously the 100 turnovers, all that. But Jason Tatum's a legit superstar in this league. And
everyone's dogging on him right now, but like,
yeah, he's a legit superstar in this league. Is he ready?
I don't remember LeBron being great in his first NBA finals. A lot of times, early in Michael's career, he people tend to forget about early on with his career.
I think what Tatum kind of lost people is all the Kobe stuff. Listen, if you want to sit there and pay tribute to Kobe, but you better channel that Mamba mentality, and you better go be the Mamba, right? Like you better go have that killer instinct, Mamba mentality, start to finish. You can't.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you can't try to do some Kobe shit and then just suck. And he sucked.
Stop.
No, Kobe had that, but Kobe's mentality, like Jason Tatum and Kobe Bryant, like. Again, why is Kobe an all-time great? It's obviously Kobe's really good, but it's the Mamba mentality, right? Kobe even had a nickname for it. It's the killer instinct that made Kobe what he was. You either got that or you don't. Well, everybody wants to be Kobe, but that's the reason why there's Kobe's Kobe, right? And nobody else is. I think you lose people when you try, stop trying to be cute and adorable and wearing the Kobe practice shit. And I texted Kobe. That's weird. First of all, you texting Kobe, I got you tonight, is just fucking weird. That's weird. Stop texting dead people. That's weird. It just is. Like, I don't like, just like the minute that happened, I was like, yep, that's like, it's over. Like you lose, that's bad. Nope. Like this is the way you just like stop it. Like, the fuck are we talking about here? Like it just, I don't know. Did anybody else get that vibe from it when he was, I texted Kobe? Like, what are you like? First of all, like who the fuck are you like? You like what? Like because you grew up like looking up to Kobe. So did a lot of fucking players. Like who the fuck are you? Like they like sitting over here trying to like text Kobe? Like you guys were best friends and shit. Like were you BFFs with Kobe? Like did you ever sleep over his house? Were you like the funny? That seems like something that like Shaq would do. Like I get it. Like y'all have been through a lot. Y'all have been through the trenches and shit together. Why are you texting Kobe as if like the fuck? Who are you? It just was weird to me. The whole fucking thing kind of like, and I was like, if there's any more of a reason to hate Boston, now I have another reason. Just another reason to add to the list of why I hate fucking Boston and their players and their franchises. Like this is weird. That's disrespectful. It just was. I don't know. I don't. Maybe if I'm kind of glad they got it stuffed to them and shoved right back in their fucking face. Especially after they won game one the way they did. Because everybody was licking fucking the Celtics balls after game one. when they came back from that double-digit deficit.
Yeah, and then they got beat, and that I think the series changed, or I think it was Game 4 or Game 5. Where
they broke their spirit in Game 4, sure.
Yeah. No, the one where Curry had 43 points. They just
that was Game 4 where they tied it. They tied it at 2. Yeah,
it could have been 3-1, but they didn't come in.
And that was the game I was talking about when I was watching with my family. That was the Friday night game. And you're like, if you go down 3-1 in the NBA Finals, it's over, right? I mean, like, it's pretty much over. Like, it's not over, but it pretty much is, right? Like, you can't go down 3-1. Like, at that point, it's just in the NBA. It's just really historically, like, yeah, I know the Thunder came back and beat the Warriors that year. The Warriors were up 3-1 on them, but the Warriors came back and beat the Thunder the year the Thunder were up 3-1 on them. Yeah. But historically, just going down 3-1, it's over. So that was the game, and again, like, if you're Kobe, Kobe's the one dropping 50 in that game and making sure they're going up 3-1, and this series is over. We're controlling our destiny. I'm putting my foot to the throat. And we know who the King of Kings is, and Steph Curry's the guy that's the all-time great, and he shows up and does what you got to do in that situation to make sure that you don't end up in a 3-1 hole that you're never going to dig yourself out of. And as soon as he dropped 43 and they tied that series at 2, that was in Boston. You knew it was going back to Golden State after that. I said, Golden State's going to win this series. It's over at this point. Once Golden State went up and won 3-2, I know Boston. Golden State was the underdogs in Boston for Game 6, but you're telling me after Game 5 that series didn't feel over? It just felt over, right? So we have all been watching sports long enough to know when it feels over, it was over. Like Yogi Berra called, it's not over till it's over. Yogi Berra had called from the dead, it was over. I got a phone call from, speaking of texting people, speaking of texting the dead, I got a text from Yogi Berra. Jason Tatum's texting Kobe Bryant. I was communicating with Yogi Berra. He told me after Game 5 it was over. Yogi, I thought you said it's not over till it's over. He said it's over. Trust me, it's over. So, I can communicate with the dead too, Jason.
Yeah, and I think it was bad when Game 6 when they needed a win and he only scores 13 points, so that doesn't help his side out.
Well, he looked defeated. The turnovers and everything, something like Kobe would have never, Kobe did that one. We all remember the playoff game against the Suns, I believe it was, where Kobe didn't take a shot in the fourth quarter. And it wasn't like that one unnoticed, right? Like, people called them out afterwards, Charles Barkley. Everybody was like, hey, like, everybody knew what was up. That was Kobe trying to stick it to the organization and let them know, hey, we're not good enough and you guys need to make, some changes to bring in some more talent around me to make this team more competitive. But that was an intentional move on Kobe's part, which is even more like a Mamba move to go, hey, like, this isn't even by accident. We all know what's going on here. I let us get blown out in the fourth quarter of an elimination game in the playoffs to make a statement to the organization that, hey, something needs to change here. Jason Tatum, they come up small. Like, again, don't try to sit there and channel your inner Kobe and then come up small in big games, and try to sit there and like, no, you look at ripped. Like, that was stupid. I just don't understand that. That was just really dumb. Nothing good could have came out of that. Let's be honest. The only thing that's happening for Jason Tatum there is bad. Right? Like, even if he goes and balls out, like, there's nothing good coming out of him trying to dress up in like warm-up gear that Kobe wore to his Celtics tryout initially. Like, nothing good comes out of him making it public. Oh, I texted Kobe's number. Okay, that's weird. Like, I don't think let's start there. But like, even if you ball out and go and drop 70 or something, like, there's nothing good coming out of it. Like, what was the point?
Are we done with this now? Because
like,
you've been harping on this for a good 5 minutes now. You done with it? You good?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to take up time as we got to the end of the show, but like,
I was trying to wrap it up 5 minutes ago, dude.
Well, you weren't trying to wrap shit up.
Anything else?
The Celtics, is this like the closest they're coming to a championship? In the next, few years, was this their chance at it, or, what do they got to do to like get, to make this a consistent thing for their part? Because, obviously they're close, right? But you need something else. And like, what do you do if you're Boston? Or do we just enjoy the fact that they're Boston and this is the closest thing we're going to come to being happy as Sixers fans is we got to enjoy watching the Celtics get their ass kicked in the finals.
Tell me, man. I don't. The Celtics.
You want me to stop talking, but you don't have anything to add to the conversation.
I already told you I've been trying to get off of here, dude. I was trying to kill. Daniel's got something to do, dude.
Daniel's got something to do. Oh, I'm sorry.
Like he's got his kids. That's why he's been hopping on and off while he's been on here, dude.
Oh, I see.
With that being said, let's put a bow on this.
Whatever you want to do, Steven.
We'll be back next Saturday. Just be me and you, Daniel's.
Sure, I think we're canceled.
I think he's got going on.
I'm pretty sure we're canceled.
Huh? I'm
pretty sure we're canceled.
Oh, we're canceled. Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Zach says we're canceled, everybody. So we won't be back next week. Anyways, fun one tonight. We'll get Mr. Burley rebooked and squared away. Hopefully, we can get him a better location, get his audio issues relined up, and get him on here. Phillies are doing their thing. Hopefully, when we're back on it sometime in the next.
That's what we've got to look forward to. Who would have thought we would have said thank God for the Phillies, but man. That's what we're looking forward to.
We'll see if that's the case in another week. It was a fun basketball season. We'll see if the Sixers do anything they're supposed to do. I know there's a whole lot of rumors swirling around that they're trying to make some moves. Bradley Beal's trying to get here to play with Embiid. I don't know. Hopefully, Morey comes up with something. As Daniel says down here, the Tampa Bay Lightning will not be swept by the Avs. I'm sure Zach is with you on that one, David. Other than that, this was another one of the weekly roundup. I'm Steve. That's Zach. Daniel's wrangling kids right now. He'll be back in the next few weeks. Make sure you tune in for the in this very ring, guys. They should be on here in about 15-20 minutes. Make sure you're checking them out. Stay subscribed. Start supporting all our programming here on HD, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that fun stuff, TikTok. We're everywhere. Everyone, this was another one.